New Jersey gun laws just got shredded in court, and here's what's left. That's what we're going to talk about today, folks, so let's get started. New Jersey just got slammed in federal court. It's not all good news, but some. A 250-page ruling dropped on September 10th that takes a sledgehammer to some of the state's most restrictive gun laws. And this isn't just about New Jersey. The outcome could ripple across the entire country, maybe even end up in the Supreme Court. Today, I'm breaking down what the court struck down, what survived, and why this ruling could change the way America treats the Second Amendment. Let's rewind. In June of 2022, the Supreme Court's Nysurpa versus Bruin decision struck down the may issue part of the carry permits. No more forcing you to provide a justifiable need to defend yourself. New Jersey was one of the states hit hardest by Bruin because very few people were able to get carry permits, with the exception being work-related. And instead of following the Constitution and the U.S. Supreme Court, Trenton lawmakers threw a tantrum. I remember Governor Murphy saying specifically, of course we will follow the U.S. Supreme Court decision and we'll issue the permits. So they stripped out justifiable need from the statute, but then buried gun owners under new hurdles, higher fees, mandatory liability insurance, bans on carrying in your own car, and a long list of so-called sensitive places where carry was outlawed, which is pretty much the entire state. He had his legislators draft one of the most restrictive gun carry bills in the nation. I like to call it the anti-carry law, which he promptly signed into law. Translation: politicians pretend to comply while making it practically impossible to exercise your rights. And that's what brought us to this court battle. The Third Circuit finally weighed in, and here's the quick summary. $50 gun tax struck down. The court said you cannot tax a constitutional right. That extra $50 in New Jersey's $200 carry permit fee, gone. The $300,000 insurance mandate, struck down. No historical tradition supports it, gone. The car or vehicle carry ban was struck down. Your own vehicle is your private property. The vampire rule, which I'll explain in a second, was struck down. And yes, the vampire rule is exactly what it sounds like. Just like a vampire in old stories can't enter your home unless you invite them in, New Jersey's law said you couldn't carry a firearm onto private property that was open to the public unless the owner gave explicit permission. Think about how insane that is. Every gas station, every grocery store, every restaurant in New Jersey became a gun-free zone by default, unless the owner hung a guns welcome sign at the front door. That flipped our rights on their head. Instead of assuming you could exercise your rights unless told otherwise, the state presumed you were breaking the law unless you got special permission. How the court viewed it? There's no historical tradition of treating all private property as gun-free by default. At the founding, carrying a firearm onto private property open to the public, like taverns, markets, and inns, was normal unless the property owner specifically told you otherwise. Third Circuit recognized this for what it was, a massive overreach. They struck it down, and that's a huge win, not just for New Jersey, but as a precedent for other states trying to play the same game. But the Third Circuit's ruling wasn't all wins. The court upheld bans in parks, beaches, libraries, museums, casinos, bars, and healthcare facilities. There's a whole list of sensitive places the state has defined, so it upheld those. In addition, the appeals court allowed the carry ban on public transportation, blocking self-defense rights in one of the areas where they are needed most. Basically, some of the most common places people go to every day. And in New Jersey, that means your rights stop the second you step into half your normal life. Here's where this case explodes beyond New Jersey. The Third Circuit just ruled you can't impose a targeted tax on the right to bear arms. But over in Texas, the Fifth Circuit recently upheld a $200 federal tax on NFA, or National Firearms Act, items. This is known as a circuit split, When federal appeals courts disagree, the Supreme Court is far more likely to step in. So this New Jersey case could end up being the one that decides, once and for all, can the government tax your Second Amendment rights? If the answer is no, and I believe it should be, that could wipe out all kinds of targeted taxes designed to make gun ownership unaffordable for everyday Americans. For New Jersey citizens, what does this ruling mean for you? Your permit fee can't be used as a cash grab. You don't need to carry $300,000 in liability insurance just to exercise a right. You can carry in your own car, loaded on your person if you have a carry permit, of course. You can carry on private property that's open to the public, like gas stations and stores, unless they post a no gun sign. But don't celebrate too much. You're still disarmed in huge areas of everyday life, from beaches to bars to casinos. And here's the kicker. The state isn't providing real security in those places. They're just putting up signs. And that's the fatal flaw in the court's reasoning. The judges focused on why these places might be sensitive, but ignored how restrictions were historically enforced. At the founding, courthouses, polling places, legislatures, they all had armed security. If you were disarmed, you were also protected. Today in New Jersey, the government just puts up a sign. No armed guard, no comprehensive protection. That's not historical tradition, that's political theater. And that's why this ruling, as mixed as it is, could be the perfect setup for the Supreme Court to finally clarify what sensitive places actually mean under the Second Amendment. So where does this go? Likely en banc review at the Third Circuit, maybe even the Supreme Court. One thing's for certain, New Jersey is ground zero in the fight for the Second Amendment. And what happens here won't stay here. We'll keep everybody updated on this case and other pertinent cases. If you want responsible sourced updates without the hype, subscribe right here at Martell Training Group. And if you want to elevate your personal safety and confidence, check out our other channel, Defend Confidently. If you like this video, folks, please hit that like button and share it. Also, check out the description for information on my book, the international best-selling book, Defend Confidently, and my online course for more detailed information on personal safety and situational awareness, as well as concealed carry. Stay informed, stay trained, and above all, stay safe.